Wow, you want to talk about time and being off. Good
Just
evening. Good evening, Who Dat Nation, and happy Wednesday on a Thursday to our Bayou Blitz family. Sorry, I was getting a liquid refreshment before we started the show. For all of you who are tuning in live tonight, thank you for yet another, bearing with us for yet another schedule change. As we continue to flex our muscle over the space-time continuum. But our Bayou Blitz is back with you live on this Thursday, December, whatever the heck it is. And I am Bob Rose. I am one of your co-hosts for Your Bayou Blitz. He is Brendan Boylan. He is your other co-host for Your Bayou Blitz. And happy December, whatever it is, Brendan.
December 4th. December 4th. Happy December 4th. We are inching closer and closer to the holiday season. And do you know how I know that? Traffic. Traffic has been terrible the last few days. I know you know exactly what I'm talking about, not being far from a metropolis city yourself in Pittsburgh. Charlotte traffic was rough today. Living near one of the biggest malls in the state doesn't help either this time of year. So hopefully you guys are safe on the roads. Hopefully you guys are getting some of your shopping done if you have not already with Black Friday and Cyber Monday. But, just avoiding malls in general. I can't stand doing that this time of year. And Bob, being a retail guy as well, I know you know how brutal it can be this time of year. I actually spoke to someone at a jewelry store, picked up some stuff for a birthday gift, and he was apologizing left and right for how long it took for him to get to me. And I looked at him and I said, man, everybody should work retail at some point in their life. Because everybody did.
When I become ruler of the world, my first action is to make everyone who hasn't already work at least one calendar year of retail. One of two things would happen. Either the general public would start respecting each other and treating each other with said respect, or there would just be massive flip outs and mass murders all over the place to significantly reduce the population. Either way, I am good with the outcome.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at with this gentleman. He was a younger guy, younger than me. And I said, look, everybody should work retail. Like, I understand it's a crazy busy time for you guys. Like, if everybody would just treat everybody with like love and respect, we'd be in a much better place. Like, it's okay that I had to wait 10 minutes to be able to get something out of a case. Like, it's not the end of the world. To where other people, as you know, it is the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
But with that, Bob, let's talk about Saints and not just, what we would do if we ruled the world. The Saints have not been spreading holiday cheer this year. Been a struggle. Starting to get some interesting thoughts and quotes from players, from podcasters and media alike as well. One of the ones that I thought was the most interesting, and I want to lean into you for this one, was Cameron Jordan's comments. And to me, it was interesting, not because it's not anything we haven't heard before. And what I mean by that is we have heard this from Cameron Jordan, the whole, I want to be here, I want to retire here, like all of that. But I think it was the first time where he's publicly said, like, this is my plan, and this is what I want, and this is what it's going to be, but maybe it's not. And it was that latter part of it was for the first time. I think you and I have both spoken to Cameron Jordan before. He's a guy who's pretty straightforward with you. He's going to have a great media career when it's all said and done in the NFL because of the personality that he has. He's an intelligent guy. You know that he's thought about his career maybe not ending in New Orleans. But it's the first time we've heard him publicly say it, Bob. And it felt a little weird because there is a crossroads going into next year. What should the Saints do in 26 with Cameron Jordan? But what did you make of the comments? I appreciate the authenticity of it. Did you read it any other way?
Yeah, I did actually. we've interviewed Cam together, as you pointed out. Yeah, I've spoken to Cam a few times, yeah, individually and in a locker room setting too. And there's one thing that I can say about Cam, and I think you'd agree with this. Cam likes to play with people a little bit.
Sure. Likes to have
Jab.
fun.
What's that?
Likes to have fun.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not saying there's no validity to what he said or how he said it, but how he said it struck me as he knew he knows he's gonna be asked this question more and more times down the stretch. And if he's asked this question 100 times, it would not surprise me if, depending on the mood you catch Cam in, he gives 100 different variations, of the answer. I 100% believe that Cam has thought about this possibility. Cam is now at the stage of his career, probably has been the last couple years, where he legitimately weighs out the option of potential retirement at the end of the year. He's what, 30, 36 years old now. A lot of wear and tear on that NFL body. So you don't know how much more he has left, how much more he thinks he has left as well. We do know that he's not the player that he once was. I have said and written several times, I think he's shown that he still has some quality football left in him. So if Cam believes that he could still play at a level that is acceptable to him as a competitor, but he has the chance to maybe play for a title contender. We know that's not going to be in New Orleans, for at least the next year. I think that's a safe bet. Cam is leaving the door open publicly now to the possibility of entertaining the idea of maybe continuing his career elsewhere. Obviously, that would be heartbreaking. I would put it right up there, maybe more so than seeing Ricky Jackson, Sam Mills, Morton Anderson in a different finishing their career in a different uniform. Because Cam is one of a handful of players in franchise history that has embodied not only the New Orleans Saints franchise, but the entire Gulf Coast region. So yeah, it would be heartbreaking. But Cam, one of those players, very similar to Thomas Morstead, a fact that you brought up often. Cam might leave New Orleans to, at some point in his life, perhaps even to finish out his career, but he's always going to be a New Orleanian. That's the end of the story with Cam. I'm hoping that the end of his football story plays itself out in New Orleans, but we know it's a business too. We've gotten to know several former players, a couple of them very, very well. One of the first things that they'll say on this sort of topic was, hey, it's a business. Personally, it's painful. But professionally, we understand it's a business. We try to handle it from the business side. Cam has a family to take care of. He has a family to continue to support, both physically and financially. But personally, I think Cam will probably my hunch is that Cam will probably retire at the end of the year. But if he doesn't, the idea of seeing him in a different uniform than a Saints uniform, while personally painful to me, I'd root for him to succeed.
It's interesting, and I don't remember who tweeted this out, but it would feel so wrong for Cam to be in a different uniform for all the reasons you mentioned. But it would also be a shame because his dad spent his whole career in one uniform.
Mm-hmm.
It would only be fitting if Cam, the son, also spent his entire career in one uniform. But I couldn't blame Cam if he does want to ring chase. And we've had this conversation openly, I think, the last 2 years about Cameron Jordan.
Yep.
And that has always been my response is he has given the team, the city, the organization, the region, to your point, so much over the last 15 years now. He deserves the opportunity to go elsewhere and compete if that's what he wants.
Mhm.
I think he'd be the first to tell you the goal has always been for him to bring another championship to New Orleans. But if he really thinks that the opportunity and the window for that is closed to the point where, hey, I don't know how much longer I can wait to do that, which I think we're toying with that now. Because I don't know if the Saints are contending. You said 1 year at least. I mean, for me, I don't know if the Saints are contending for anything more than maybe the division in the next 3 years. And that's just because the division's bad. Imagine if they were in like the AFC West, right? Where you got the Broncos who are kicking butt right now. And you have the Chiefs, who I know everybody's talking about where the Chiefs are right now, but the Chiefs have been so dominant. And there's no doubt in my mind, probably your mind or anybody's mind, that if there's a team that's going to make a weird run at the end of the year and get hot at the right time, it's Kansas City. Because look at the track record. You also have, the Chargers, who, and I don't need to go on about another division, but for the sake of the argument, it'd be different if the Saints were in that division. They're not competing for like 5 years at that point. I don't think Cam's got 3 left to wait and see. But to your point, he still has something in the tank. It kind of reminds me, and given Von Miller's still out there somewhere in the world, I think he's in Washington now.
Mhm.
But you remember when Von Miller went over to Buffalo a few years ago and was more of just a contributor to a team that was going to contend? Like, that's the type of production I think you can get out of Cameron Jordan if you're a Buffalo Bills team or if you're a Denver Broncos team, right? Go back and play for Sean again, something like that. I could see him making that type of move if he wants to, and I couldn't blame him for it. But it is so rare not just in today's NFL, but in today's spectrum of the world of sports where you see lifers. You just don't see it anymore. It'd be really cool to see. I said earlier this year I really wanted to see him get to 130 before it was all said and done. He's at, 127?
Yes.
After last week, so we need 3 more. Doable, especially against some of the bad competition they have coming up. Tennessee, New York Jets, the Panthers again. Teams like that I could see, maybe, with coach going, hey, Cam, how much do you really want? A certain number. Like, go, we're going to play you some extra snaps or whatever the case may be. You said, you kind of take it with like a little bit of a grain of salt. Cam could give 100 different variations of the same answer. Well, I agree with that to an extent. I also think I took it as a real, I don't want to call it a wake-up call, but it was that time, I think, where, hey, I've thought about this for a long time and I can finally like publicly bring it to the table. That maybe there is a real possibility. So while there might be some joking in there, I do think that sprinkled in there is like a sense of reality and knowing, hey, this is a new coaching staff. This is not a staff that, even going to the Dennis Allen, like Dennis had been with Cam for how long? A decade? Like, this is not a coaching staff that has seen the same blood, sweat, and tears with Cameron Jordan or DeMario Davis or any veteran. They could be like, hey, thanks for everything. We're going to, help you transition to whatever's next. It's just, it's not going to be here. Would that be a really crappy thing to do? Yes. Do I put it outside the realm of possibilities with what this front office has done over the last few years? Absolutely not. And you want a prime example, I guess just because it's recent news, but like, look what just happened with Los Angeles and Chris Paul. I know basketball. I always love bringing in my basketball. But you bring a guy in for a retirement tour and you send him home after the first 2 months of the season and then say, oh, look, we're going to help facilitate whatever's next in your career. I don't think the Saints would be that bad.
No.
But I do think it would be there is going to be some heart-to-heart conversation at the end of the year. on both sides because the contract's up, right? They're going to have to renegotiate if he's coming back. And that's going to be some heart-to-heart conversations. It's going to be tough. I don't want to jump into all of that yet because we're not quite there yet.
No, but you bring up a great point about a right and a wrong way to handle a situation like Cam Jordan, or for that matter, Demario Davis, Taysom Hill. Veterans.
Taysom would hurt a lot too, man.
It would.
That would hurt a lot.
To me, Demario would.
Of course.
And I think for all the criticism that we heap on, most of it legitimate, heap on the Saints organization, the Saints front office, they have continued to show loyalty to such players, and you can throw Alvin Kamara in that mix too, along with a couple of others. Marshawn Lattimore got traded. I'm convinced Marshawn Lattimore got traded because Marshawn Lattimore wanted to be traded. Otherwise we could probably lump him into that conversation too. So even with a new head coach, you still have the Mickey Loomises, the Dennis Loshes, the Gail Bensons, et cetera. Even Jeff Ireland has been there for several years now. So I think if Cam is no longer a New Orleans Saint after the 2025 season, it's at least going to be handled with class. I have a lot of confidence in that. To the point there'll probably be a press conference with some pomp and circumstance, like there was when Sean went out. And obviously a lot of emotion involved, no matter what happens. I can't picture something like that. Check out, folks. I can't take credit for writing it, but John Sigler over at Saints Wire, my boss, wrote a really nice article this morning, about a few Saints players that we may be seeing. Basically, the premise of the article was, enjoy this, folks, because this may very well be the last you see of certain Saints players. And of course, he mentioned a couple potential free agents or trade or cut baits. The human turnstile, Alontae Taylor, Pete Werner. But then, invoking more emotion, obviously, you have to talk about Cam, Taysom, Demario. So it's a nice read. So check out John Sigler's piece over at Saints Wire. I think you'll enjoy it. Again, it's an emotional piece. But when you're talking about these kind of situations, for a team in transition, and this is what exactly the Saints are, there's got to be some painful, emotional moves and decisions made.
I think if you were to pull up our podcast from early in the year, like preseason, maybe past training camp, but into the preseason, we had that. You might have said that same thing verbatim. Is you're in a position where there are going to be ones that really hurt, and there's going to be ones that hurt more than others.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens when the Saints operate the way the Saints have over the last few years. And it's been one thing that I've harped on numerous times, of keeping this championship window open, or the false narrative that there is a championship window that was open. I saw another tweet, and again, I'm terrible about, remembering who tweeted these things and giving people proper credit. So I'm sorry, whoever tweeted this. I'm very sorry for not getting the name. But the question was something along the lines of, if you could change one thing over the last decade of Saints football, what would it be? There's an obvious answer for everyone, but the way it was explained is the part that got me, and that was, of course, winning the Super Bowl in 18. And the reasoning behind it, and you may have seen the same tweet, was essentially you would have avoided all of the junk that you're in right now.
Yeah.
Because a lot of guys would have either retired, moved on. You wouldn't have felt the need to keep the window open. And you wouldn't be in a situation where you've been in cap hell all these years. You've extended all of these guys. Maybe some of these guys walk and it would have hurt years prior. But you wouldn't be in a situation now where it's like you don't see a situation where the Saints are competitive for the next 3 to 5 years. So it is kind of like the best of both. And that it sucks to say out loud, but if they win in 18, which they should have, does Drew play in 19, 20? 19 and 20? Probably not. Maybe he does because he's a fierce competitor, but maybe not. And it would have opened the it would have opened the door, as messed up as this sounds, too. It would have opened the door for guys to get priced out.
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't have been able to keep guys, or you wouldn't have done these weird contractual things to keep guys because you just couldn't afford to keep everyone. That's what happens when you have championship football teams. Which I say that in 2019, 2020, coming off of a Super Bowl in 18, you guys think I'm crazy. But you sit here in 2025, or at the end of 2025, and you go, you know what, that was probably the best thing to happen because you wouldn't have been restricted financially to all the things you've been restricted to the last few years. So whoever wrote that whole thing, very well said, because I had never really thought about the butterfly effect of it. Right? We think the butterfly effect of not winning it, but you don't think about the butterfly effect of how that affects your personnel over the next 7 years. I thought it was very interesting. So props to whoever tweeted that.
Yeah, and you know what? I've talked about it on different shows before too. You know, when I have been interviewed as guests on different shows too. There's so many directions that this butterfly effect tsunami's out in. Personally, real quick about Drew, I believe Drew would have played in 2019. I do not believe he would have played in 2020. The injuries, in 2019, I think caught up with him. And then the onset of COVID, in 2020, just there was no reason for Drew to go on, and his arm was completely shot by that point. But I think the narrative of certain players would be different. Yes, Drew Brees is a first ballot Hall of Famer. And only the truly intelligent football people will put him in the conversation among the greatest, the truly greatest of all time at the position. Drew wins a second Super Bowl, and really he should have had 3, 2011, 2018. But Drew even wins one of those 2 years. Then, in my opinion anyway, and a lot of people share this, you now have a multiple championship quarterback. He is, who is at the top of the heap in all conceivable numbers. He now is undoubtedly at least in the conversation of the top 3, top 4, top 5 of all time. Cam Jordan, who I believe is, or probably is, and definitely should be a Hall of Famer. Cam Jordan is a slam dunk Hall of Famer if you attach Super Bowl champion to that resume. I think Demario Davis has a stronger chance if you attach Super Bowl champion to that resume. Sean Payton, who again, just like Cam, I believe probably is and certainly should be a Hall of Fame head coach when he hangs it up. You attach a second Super Bowl championship. Sean Payton is a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer. So many different narratives that you could take on individual players. From a franchise aspect, I still think Cam probably plays until now in New Orleans. Demario, Marshawn, maybe even Alvin, maybe not. Depends on the escalating contracts of them, others at the position, others on the team. But I think, I definitely completely agree with what you said about the front office probably taking a different angle towards some personnel movements, towards some draft or free agent strategies, because, okay, we have that second championship. We now really need to accelerate the process of rebuilding the youth on this team, the quarterback position, maybe a different evaluation of the coaching staff if Sean, still does step away, that sort of thing. But and these moves also wouldn't be quite as painful if and when Cam or DeMario or Taysom no longer become a Saint, because at least we can kind of grin, because you go back to Ricky Jackson, Sam Mills, Morton Anderson, Bobby Hebert, even, with all of us, I like to call us seasoned Saints fans. The comments are almost always the same. Man, I'm glad Ricky won a championship. I wish it could have been in New Orleans. Man, if only Pat Swilling or Sam Mills could have gotten a Super Bowl championship in New Orleans. It's the same refrain over and over and over again. And now we're likely going to be adding Demario Davis, Taysom Hill, and Cameron Jordan to that list. And it's just, it was such great players, legendary players, and legendary people. It's just, it's a tough pill to swallow, because you just know what could have been, and frankly, in the case of 2018, should have been.
Yeah, I'll add Alvin to that list.
Yeah.
I don't think it gets talked about a whole lot right now. I think it will once he gets into the Saints Hall of Fame, and that's Mark Ingram. Is another one where it's like, man, I really wish you would have got one in New Orleans, or just at all, right? And you said it leaves a grin on your face. That's so true with any sport when you're able to attach some sort of championship to it, right? Even if it is, I guess in football, you really don't have like the meaningless trophies compared to some of the other sports, right? Like soccer has these weird meaningless trophies, but you still get to say like, oh, they were a champion in whatever. And those names live forever, right? Banners are forever.
The word champion just has such a meaningful ring.
Right.
You can attach it to your personal resume in any way, shape, or form.
And it's great, right? And I mean, that being a multi-time state champion coach, Hall of Fame coach, as we
champion volleyball player.
Look, okay. I gave you two, right?
Again, I'm proud of three-time East Coast Beach volleyball champion. It's something I'm very proud of.
And you should be. I was just joking. I wanted to make a Meatloaf special joke. I gave you 2 out of 3. Like 2 out of 3 ain't bad, Bob. Come on. I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, you're absolutely right. And again, that's with any sport. This is going to sound weird too. Even if they would have won the NFC title in 18, we all know what would have happened in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But let's say for whatever reason they don't win it. You still have a bigger grin because you're able to say NFC champion. I know you can't say Super Bowl champion, but there's still a little bit more like glimmer in the eye when you're able to talk about at least getting there.
Yeah, because to imagine a Cam Jordan or a DeMario or a Taysom on the Super Bowl stage.
Just to have the appearance, right? It would have been something. But we don't even have that, and that stinks more than a lot of things, right? And I know that you grew up a Denver Broncos fan, and I know you have certain Broncos that never won Super Bowl that you think so highly of, but they never got one. Or other sports. I mean, you guys watching at home, you're fans of other sporting franchises, and you have that one player that is beloved by your franchise, but you always have that asterisk because they never won one, or they never had the moment, right? And sometimes it isn't a championship. In football, I think we've hit a point in the NFL where it's really the championship or bust.
Yeah, sad but true.
True, but you don't have the same satisfaction of like, oh man, look at the playoff run that they had. So where I think in other sports, you can kind of grasp to that sometimes. Oh, they had a deep playoff run. You can grasp to that. But also for these Saints teams, I mean, they did have multiple deep playoff runs. And multiple times they probably should have won at least the NFC, to Bob's point, if not winning the whole thing. And it's hard. But let's talk more about current Saints than being kind of sad and depressing about the ends of the Saints' careers for some of these guys. So to make that transition from kind of sad into more happy and joyful, Bob's going to tell you about the best Christmas present of all, because it involves warm weather, which I know you don't have right now because I don't have it right now. It's freezing. It's awful. I hate it. You hate it. But it involves warm weather. It involves New Orleans Saints legends. It involves a 3-time volleyball champion in Bob Rose. Bob, tell them about the awesome things that are going on at Get Checked or Check Out, along with the Go Black and Gold Charity Celebrity Fan Cruise. That's always a mouthful, but I'm glad I can get it.
You know what? After a little over a year, I think we have finally gotten that, both of us, gotten that moniker down where we're no longer tongue tied when saying that.
Yeah.
So I want to pat us both on the back for that. But first and foremost, folks, as soon as you're done watching this show, whether it live this evening or whether you're catching it on a replay, I want you to go to that website at the bottom of the screen, tcynow.org. That is the website for Get Checked or Check Out. That is a charitable organization co-founded by a good friend of mine, Shireen, co-founded and put in place to help guide individuals and families through difficult medical situations. We have all either received personal news, and I'm so sorry if you have either personal news or have a close friend or a family member or loved one that just receives a medical diagnosis that makes you or them or all of you just completely terrified and bewildered. You don't know where you're going to turn next, either financially or emotionally. Well, that's why Get Checked or Check Out was founded by Shireen. It is to help individuals and families take that next step, know what your next step is. And I'm not just talking for medical or treatment options. I am talking for therapy options, and just everything imaginable. And that's why I do want you to go check out this site. And please, it is the holiday season, so I know everybody's asking for something. There is no better cause out there, if you're feeling in a charitable mood. Because while they were Get Checked or Check Out was put in place to help us, they need our help to be able to help. Now, the major fundraiser that Get Checked or Check Out has every year is the foundation's annual Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. Excuse me. This has been going on for over a dozen years now. Myself and my family had our first excursion with them last year, and within 5 minutes of stepping on the boat, we immediately felt like A, we always belonged, and B, we were lifers. As long as you folks will have us. The 2026 cruise is set to sail on Thursday, March 26th, and arrive back on Monday, March 30th. Now, this year's cruise does depart from Jacksonville, Florida. However, there are packages available if you're coming from the New Orleans or Gulf Coast region. Packages available to go into Jacksonville from there, or you could just fly into Jacksonville like I'm doing myself. And the destination is different this year. This year's the 2026 destination is going to be in the tropical Bahamas, where we get to join Black and Gold legends Tyrone Hughes, Michael Lewis, Courtney Roby, and Delvin Breaux. Those are the ones that have confirmed so far. We get to join them for a tremendous fun-filled getaway and do it with a purpose to benefit such a tremendous cause. We're going to visit the brand new Celebration Key Island in the Bahamas, as well as Nassau. And during this trip, you get to play Beach Olympics with your favorite designated team captain, one of the said Saints legends that I just mentioned. You will compete in it's an intense, really intense, surprisingly intense, but really, really fun putt-putt golf tournament. Again, each team will be captained by Delvin, Tyrone, Mike, and Courtney. It's fun to watch them go at it, by the way. That's worth the price of admission in and of itself. But we also get to enjoy meals, game nights, trivia, Q&A sessions with these players and their families. They are intermixed with us the entire time, folks. We're partying the days and nights away. We're all doing it together. We have our own section of the boat. We'll eat dinner together. We're hanging out on the beach together. We have our own rooms set aside for us, rooms on the boat for everything that I just mentioned, all the different activities. And listen, if you've ever been to an NFL sponsored or, frankly, NHL, NBA sponsored, activity, you usually have access to these players at certain times on certain days. No, like I said, we're hanging out with all these guys and their families that come along with them the entire time. That was just so special to me. That and meeting so many more new people, and I want to meet more new people. This felt, I've mentioned it several times this way. This felt like a mini family reunion. But I want more people involved. Again, you can't beat the cause. This is the biggest fundraiser that Get Checked or Checkout has on a yearly basis. So all these tickets help raise the much needed funds that they use to help us. So reserve your spot now by calling Summer at Seven Seas Travel. Summer's number is 985-788-6584. You can also contact Shireen, the co-founder of Get Checked or Checkout, at 504-305-7563. If you missed those numbers, reach out to me. If you have any questions about the trip itself in a little bit more detail, what my experiences were, reach out to me. I don't care if it's text, email, social media, DMs, whatever you got to do. It's a cause that I truly, truly believe in. It's something that's helped me gain so many more very good friends that's involved with this organization. So again, check out tcynow.org. Please help us out, but give your family an early Christmas gift in the process. Just tell them, hey, guess where we're going? We're going to the Bahamas early in 2026. And Get Checked or Checkout also wants to remind you to please take care of yourself physically, mentally, and emotionally. Make those appointments now with your healthcare providers. Keep those appointments. Ask questions. Maintain healthier diets at home, not only for yourself, but reach out to all your family members, loved ones, people who you care about in your life, because we want to hold on to them as long as possible.
Yeah, and also just this time of year for a lot of people, while it is the most wonderful time of the year for a lot and a season of giving, there's a lot of people who deal with grief and seasonal depression this time of year. I'm in that boat as well. Thankfully, it hasn't really hit me hard yet, knock on wood. I've done much better this year than years past, and I'm so grateful for that. But there are a lot of people who aren't. There's a lot of people who have family members that maybe it's the first time they're dealing with this, and they're really confused, and they're sitting and going, what's going on? We're all together for the holidays, and so-and-so's not as joyful or happy or whatever. Go check out that website below. They're going to have resources, whether it's physical health, mental health, and things that aren't only going to benefit you, whether you were the person who is going through what you're going through. It's also going to help benefit your family, your friends, your loved ones, because a lot of the struggles with mental health is just feeling as if people don't understand
or care.
And it's a great way to be like, hey guys, this is what's going on with me. Let's kind of navigate this thing together. And that's so important as well this time of year. So go check out tcynow.org. Remember to get checked or check out. Reach out to Bob if you have any questions about the cruise. We're going to start calling him Bahama Bob for the rest of 25 and going into 26. Make sure you say hello to Bahama Bob while you're on that cruise. And with that, we can move into Saints Buccaneers. I say that kind of because I don't expect this one to be a really fun one.
No.
The Bucks have been, I don't know if I'd call it spiraling over the last few weeks, but they've been playing a little teeter-totter. Been on the seesaw a little bit. They don't really know who they want to be. Not as bad as Carolina, who just came off of a huge week last week.
Carolina and Detroit are the two most schizophrenic teams in the NFL.
Yeah, it's like 1 week they look incredible, and then the next week they don't know how to play football anymore. I think what I figured out with the Carolina Panthers, if they just play a good team every week, they're going to be one of the best teams in football. Like, they're the definition of playing up or down to your competition, right?
True.
They had an incredible win last week against the Rams. But then you look back at the schedule and like, they lost to the Saints at home? Like, that bad? And it was bad. But that's the way it is. But back to the Bucks, they're not quite that dramatic, but they're still figuring it out. They've been beat up, right? The receiving corps has been really beat up. The running back position's been really beat up. Even Baker Mayfield got a little beat up.
Yep. Defensively, they've been missing a lot of pieces.
This is still, for my money, the runaway best team in the division.
Yeah. For
my money, a team that I think will surprise people in the playoffs. Maybe sneak one that they shouldn't get in terms of a win. I see the Saints really struggling with these guys yet again. Obviously, there were some words earlier in the year. Baker Mayfield calling the Saints dirty and this, that, and the other. It's Baker Mayfield for you. And love or hate Baker Mayfield, dude can play. And I remember backing him in Cleveland. And so all you people that thought I was crazy for backing him in Cleveland, the guy can play.
Yeah.
And he finally found a system that not only fits him, but he's found a system where, he doesn't have coaches, like entire staffs changing every year. He might have a piece here, a piece there, but God, look at those first few years in Cleveland, where it was like every year it was just like clean slate. I think he had a different offensive coordinator each one of his first 4 or 5 NFL seasons, which is unbelievable. But I digress. I only laugh because it's only the Saints. Is it fair to call Sean Tucker just a Saints killer?
Yes.
Is that fair? Like, he's made the list after like 2 games. Like, I know all you guys are in fantasy football playoffs because I'm in the playoffs. I barely squeaked in. I'm very proud of it this year. I went on a 6-game winning streak to sneak into the final playoffs. But thank you. I promise I gave good advice while I was with Sports Illustrated. That's not the reason I'm not writing for Sports Illustrated anymore.
No, the reason why we aren't writing for Sports Illustrated is because the director of Saints News Network is a downright cowardly criminal. Go on. Sorry to interrupt.
All I'm going to say is corner 3 for Bob Rose. Give the assist to Boylan and keep it rolling. But yeah,
coward, criminal, hypocrite, and thief. I got more. We're gonna save that for a special show and a barrage of Facebook posts soon. So sorry to interrupt you, Brendan.
Yeah, soon. All right, man. I got to get ready to throw alley-oops then if it's coming soon. We're not just hitting corner 3s anymore. We're throwing full court alley-oops, man. But no, I as weird as this is going to sound to say all that, like, Sean Tucker might be an interesting play this week against the Saints. Just look at the track record. If you are really desperate this week, I guarantee you Sean Tucker's probably available in your league, and it might be worth looking into if you're looking at your roster and you just don't have health at the running back position. You got guys questionable. You and I were talking before we went on live, and I mean, Chris Godwin could come back this week. Mike Evans could come back this week for Tampa Bay. That's not to mention they've got good production from guys that at the beginning of the year were probably the who's, right? Not like, the who's, but like the who's. Like Tez Johnson has been a great story. And he's been a really reliable guy for them this year. You got to tip your cap there. Defensively, you mentioned the injuries they've had defensively. They've found a lot of bright spots on the defense. And for the Saints, you look at their injury report and you're like, well, Alvin Kamara is probably going to miss this week, right? Defensively, you're looking at potentially both safeties missing this week.
Mm-hmm.
Sanker, who has a head injury. Justin Reed injured in the last game as well. So you already have a young secondary, and you're taking your biggest veteran out of the secondary. And then Sanker, who's been he's been a rookie. He's had his moments both ways, but a promising rookie, especially for a draft position, like a guy that when you're drafting, third, fourth round, a guy who may contribute out the gate, may not. And I think he's proven his worth and his value so far this year. But I don't love that against a guy like Baker Mayfield. I don't know what it is too, Bob. It doesn't matter who's playing defense for the Saints. It doesn't matter who the coordinator is. I wouldn't go as far to call Baker Mayfield like a really mobile quarterback. He's not a guy that like early in his career or even his college career where he'd just run for a ton of yards against you. But I would say he's got some of the best escapability in the NFL. He's one of the best in prolonging plays. I think Josh Allen is up in far and away the best at taking the gamble by prolonging plays, because it truly is. But when it pays off, man, does it pay off? But Baker's really good about escaping the pocket, using his legs. And the Saints, for the last 20 years, have no answer for anyone who's not just a statue, right? Like, let's just be honest. I would love to see the numbers over the last 20 years. Those things concern me. I don't think this is going to be much of a ball game. What I am curious to see, though, from the Saints offense is we spoke so highly of Vele last week. Chris Olave had some moments. I think Tyler Shuck has shown some areas of growth week in and week out. Can this offense continue to grow? And what does that offense look like without Alvin Kamara for a second straight week? I hate calling them moral victories because moral victories suck. Let's just get that straight off the table. Moral victories suck, but that's where we are right now. I would take some moral victories in this matchup if the Saints offense continues to improve. But that's kind of where we are.
Yeah, because this Tampa Bay team has far superior talent to the New Orleans Saints, and it's painful to admit that, but it's fact. Now, before last week's win over Arizona, Tampa Bay had lost 3 in a row and 4 out of 5, with that only victory being against the New Orleans Saints. But the Buccaneers are finally starting to get healthy. That's why they kind of went into that swoon. I mean, they won, I believe, 6 games early in the year, by 1 score, all in the final 2 minutes. So, they've been lucky too. But I mean, good teams, good makes their own luck is what one of my favorite sayings. But Tampa is starting to get healthy at the right time. I'm watching defensively; they're as healthy as they've been since the first quarter of the season. Kalijah Kancey is still on IR up front, but they have David back. I think Hassan Reddick is going to play this week on the edge. Their secondary is healthy once again. This Tampa Bay defense looks back. Offensively, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, all wide receivers, all cleared to play. Now, whether they do this week, I think Evans will. You mentioned that. I don't remember if we'd gone on the air yet, but you'd mentioned that you expect Evans to play. I do too. That gives some star power, and certainly someone that Baker feels comfortable throwing to in traffic. To a receiving core where Tez Johnson has played well, Sterling Shepard has had his moments, and Emeka Egbuka for the first half of the year was my offensive rookie of the year. Now he's cooled off significantly, but I think having Mike Evans, Godwin, McMillan, those guys back in the lineup or coming back, I think you'll see a run from Egbuka down the stretch. Bucky Irving the running back came back into the lineup last week too. You expect he'll be closer to regular to form. When they take the field against the Saints defense that continues to struggle against the run. I have a hard time seeing New Orleans being able to match up. The Saints have not been Devin Neal had a couple nice runs, but it sure wasn't because the offensive line was giving him any holes. Neal was making his own yards, through power and effort. Against a good run defense such as the Buccaneers, ranked 6th overall in that category, if you can't find a way to run the ball, then you're setting those pass rushers loose. Reddick and Diaby, along with a defensive coaching staff in Tampa Bay who loves to blitz in the first place. They're going to blitz the hell out of Tyler Shuck. Arvele, Olave, are they going to get the quick separation that's going to be necessary, for Shuck to get rid of the ball, against a defense that has 11 interceptions this year. That's near the top of the league. I don't know if it's top 5, but it's sure as heck top 10. This matchup, this could get ugly fast.
Yeah, I don't see this one being a fun one, at all, frankly. But it's the reason they play on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm with you. I don't see, you said this could get ugly fast. I don't see how the Saints are competitive in this game. I really don't see a scenario, unless the Bucs offensively are just flat on their face. I don't see how the Saints are going to be competitive. I could see this being like I don't want to call it like a low scoring game, necessarily, but seeing it be one of those where it's 17-0 at halftime. Maybe the final score ends up being like 24-7 or 24-10 or something, but the Saints were very clearly never in it. One of those games where the scoreboard doesn't tell you the whole story. And that's just how I see the game going, unfortunately. I don't see this being a game where the Saints can be really competitive. That's going to change after this week. They're going to have a stretch of games where I do think they can be competitive. But for the sake of just talking about this upcoming matchup, I don't see it.
Now, I do think that Tyler Shuck could take a major step forward in a lot of people's eyes, as a potential franchise franchise quarterback with a good performance, with the deck literally stacked against him. This is the moment where the truly great quarterbacks, and I'm not saying by no means am I putting Tyler Shuck in that category, so don't misunderstand me. But we always talk about the truly great quarterbacks in this league, not just now, but ever, have found a way to elevate those around him, to keep them competitive. Like we talk about Breeze all the time, in these glowing terms. But you look at some of the defensive talent that Breeze had on those Saints, at the mid 2000 teens. Some of the receivers that he made. Now, Lance Moore ended up being a terrific undrafted gem, but he was undrafted, and all those undrafted, unheralded players that Breeze made look very good. This is what great quarterbacks do. Can Tyler Shuck come up with the type of performance that keeps the Saints in the game? And if he could do that, I think that would silence at least some more critics that just it won't shut up the ones who want Tyler Shuck to fail. But it might convert some of those that are on the fence. I still don't know if the Saints have their quarterback yet, which is fair. We both talked about, you and me, Brendan, have both talked about several times in most of the games he's played in. Tyler Shuck showed us something this week. Tyler Shuck showed us something, on this drive or this quarter, or this segment of the game. This is the type of game where if he could keep his team in it, or God forbid, pull off an upset. Hey, you know what? Tyler Shuck just might be this team's answer at quarterback, finally.
It's interesting because I think week in and week out, you have different answers from different people to what you just said. Ben DiNucci, who was actually with the Saints for a very short period of time, came out and said that the Saints should not look at drafting a quarterback this year, that they really should focus on putting weapons around Tyler Shuck. You're seeing the confidence grow week in and week out. Now, say what you will, right? You guys are going to come out and be, oh, it's Ben DiNucci. Like, look, who's the other guy? Luke
McCown has talked about all day long. Luke has been going after people who have been coming after him. Because Luke McCown is a big fan of the way Tyler Shuck has been playing.
And Luke McCown, another guy where it's like, well, he was just a backup. Like, these guys were NFL players. They're as good at identifying NFL talent as anybody because they were around it for however many years. The other guy I was looking for, I think it's Kurt Benhart or something like that. He was a backup quarterback with the Falcons and the Packers, but like he's retired and he's gone on to do some like individual media stuff and really hot on the Madden circuits now as a player and helping people understand football in those aspects of like through a video game. And people are like, well, you were just a backup quarterback. Like, what do you know? And it's like, well, a lot because it's a backup quarterback. But I digress. Going back to DiNucci, you have a guy like that who is in that Saints system for, again, a cup of coffee amount of time, but nonetheless was in the Saints system to be able to come out and say, yeah, like, this is what this team should do. I was there for a little bit of time. I'm familiar with some of the weapons he has. They really just need to continue to grow around because this guy is going to be whatever. You have people like that. You also have other people that are like, oh, he's so terrible. The Saints need to take a quarterback in the top 5, this, that, and the other. We've talked about on this show, the end goal for this year for Shuck should be show enough to where they don't have to draft a quarterback in the top 5.
Right.
And I think he's progressing towards that direction. I'm not ready to anoint him. I said it last week. I'm not ready to anoint him the next guy. But I'm willing to say, you know what? He's been better than Spencer Rattler. He's shown improvement week to week. And he's a guy you should invest something into to just see what you have. So I like your point there as well when it comes to Shuck. This could be a big game for him. I think it could be if Vele has another good game. I think that cements some things for him as well. Any closing thoughts, Bob, before we wrap up the show this evening?
No, I mean, guys, the Saints had their 10th loss last week, which is their second straight year with double-digit losses. Have had double-digit losses in 3 of the last 4 years. At this point, and I don't think any of us realistically believed that this team was going to compete for the playoffs anyway. Hopeful, sure. Now that they are officially eliminated, from playoff contention, let's just look for. I know I am looking for individual improvement. Certainly, all eyes are going to be on the quarterback position. You mentioned Devon Bailey. I'm watching Devin Neal. Can Quincy Riley, Kool-Aid McKinstry continue to play well down the stretch? Can Danny Stutzman and Isaiah Stallberg continue to play well down the stretch? And Chase Young, man, been on an absolute tear. Still not that guy that keeps quarterbacks and defensive coordinator or offensive coordinators up at night. But man, if you can go into this offseason saying, okay, we have a good edge rusher in Chase Young. If we find another good one, then we really have something rolling defensively, especially Brandon Staley. I mean, Brandon Staley's best Chargers defenses were when he had Bosa on one side, Khalil Mack on the other, and that defense caused all kinds of havoc. You get someone to complement Chase Young. Chase Young is now playing well enough, and I hand off the credit to Brendan Boylan. Chase Young is now playing well enough where I believe that if the Saints find another Chase Young type of player, that they really have something cooking defensively with that secondary. You get a space eater up front. But again, these are the kind, Stutzman, Stallberg, good tandem at linebacker. You look like you have a good pair of cornerbacks in Riley and McKinstry. We've talked about Shuck, Alave, not McKinstry, Vele. I want to see improved play from Fuaga and Banks at tackle. They've struggled the last couple weeks. Not played poorly, but have struggled. They're going to be put to test against Tampa Bay's pass rush this week. So, position to position, that's what I'm going to be watching.
I think that's fair. You tipped your cap to me about Chase Young. What I remember was the bet earlier in the year of how many games he would play. And it's crazy how the narrative has switched to where we went from a guy like, is he even going to give us half a season worth of games, to where I think you could argue he's clearly been the best defensive player for the Saints this year. You could throw him in that argument, certainly.
Yep.
That's a hell of a switch over the course of like 2 months. So I'll tip my cap to Chase Young. Well, guys, Bob Rose had mentioned his boss, John Siegler, earlier on the show. He mentioned Saints Wire and USA Today, but I'll allow Bob to tell you guys, or you can continue to support his work with his current employer, and where you may or may not see certain things said about a former employer.
Well, and those that like to read my weekly articles, I do apologize for my lower production recently. I'm also kind of making up for lost income, by working back at Jared. But there a lot of available hours this time of year, so therefore I'm spreading myself pretty thin. I will be finishing up my preview articles of Saints versus Buccaneers through the end of the week, so make sure you check that out. And check out the Saints Wire in general. That's a USA Today publication, so it can be found on usatoday.com. But Saints Wire is its own separate entity too. They can be found on all social media platforms. And as I always do, I post not only our Bayou Blitz show links, but my articles on my own personal media pages, which are Bob Rose on Facebook and at Bobby R2613. And guys, check out tcynow.org, the Get Checked or Checkout website. Donate a little bit. I hope you aren't in need of their services, excuse me. But if you are, A, my prayers go out to you. But B, that's why they're put there. But they need all of our help to help us. And the best way to do that is treat yourself to you can help out by treating yourself to a cruise. How many times is that an applicable statement in this society? Help out a great charity by taking a vacation. But book that cabin now. Reach out to me if you missed the details on how to do it or have any other questions about the 2026 Go Black and Gold Celebrity Charity Fan Cruise. But I want to see everybody that I saw last year and a whole bunch of new faces.
When you say it like that, it's kind of crazy, right?
Isn't it?
Donate to charity by going on vacation. I mean, hey, 2 birds, 1 stone. It's a great thing. Holidays are coming up. Maybe that's a great surprise gift for the family, right? Or your significant other. Hey, we're going to go on a cruise, and we'll figure it out. So definitely.
Speaking of trips, before you plug your site, it was one of my Christmas gifts Christmas surprises was accidentally revealed to me a couple days ago.
All right, where are you going?
The Rose family will be going to Nashville the weekend of December 28th. Whatever that Saturday is, we're coming in that Saturday, attending the Saints Titans game. As fans, I will not be working. So if you are in Nashville already or coming to Nashville for that game, I hope to see you there.
Nice. I've never been to Nashville.
Nashville's a great city. I've been there many times. Never been to a sporting event there, but I've been there many times. I love that city. One of my favorite cities in the U.S.
Yeah, I hear a lot of good things about Nashville. Well, you're gonna have a great time. That'll be good. Who spoiled it? Was it Will?
It was Will.
It was Will. Good job,
yeah.
Will. Thumbs up to Will. For myself, you can follow me just about everywhere at BT Boylan, right there. Always happy, as we continue to do this week in and week out, and we start to get into silly season, and we start talking about like the first half of the show, just talking about things that don't really pertain to the current situation or the current week coming up. Oh, hello to you too. My dogs do the same thing, Bob. You know that. I get more and more appreciative as we're at today was episode 190 together.
That is very cool.
And that doesn't include the draftathons or the interviews we've done together with other people. So, yeah, it is pretty cool. I know Thanksgiving is over, but you can always continue to be thankful. Super thankful for the opportunity that you guys at home have presented to the two of us, all joking, not all joking aside. Yes, we have had some not great experiences with certain employers. Not just one of them. I remember a contract we signed 2 years ago that didn't work out very well either. But we wouldn't be in the position if you guys didn't support us, whether it was reading articles, whether it was you were reading articles and following us, or Bob over with Saints Wire, or both of us at Athlon Sports, or both of us at Sports Illustrated, or both of us with Saints News Network, or even listening to us all the way back in the day when Bob and I first met, Saints News Radio. If you are real OGs, you guys have been listening since then, and we're almost a decade that we've been working together since our first radio appearance together. I just get super thankful for all those things. I do know this is me doing the Cameron Jordan thing of like speaking things in realizing things in real time. I do know that my broadcasting career as a play-by-play guy is essentially done. It is what it is. There may be a couple opportunities for me to fill in, but it's not something that I'm doing 100 times a year like I was. I understand that my journalism career, there might be an opportunity that comes up for me to do like fantasy football or something in the future, and I'm still hopeful for that. But my days of writing 250 articles a year for pennies on the dollar, there you go, Bob, you're welcome, are over. I'm never doing those things again. But one thing that I've continued to do and will continue to do is this podcast with Bob. And we've joked we'll do this show when Bob's in a retirement home somewhere. And I'm just super thankful that through all of the changes in life over the last few years, probably the last 5 years for me, in switching career paths and seeing some things come and go, that I've still got this and I've still got all of you loyal watchers at home. So super appreciative to all of you guys. Wanted to, again, extend that Thanksgiving and holiday cheer. We're super thankful for you guys. We are going to do our usual Christmas giveaway this year, so stay tuned for the details of that. And until sometime Sunday, that's Bob Rose. I'm Brendan Boylan. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Bayou Blitz podcast. And until Sunday, I hope you guys find some peace, spread love, practice positivity. We'll see you next time for another episode of the Bayou Blitz. See you then.